Snacks were placed on the coffee table, and next to 2 champagne glasses there was a bottle chilled in an ice bucket. My outfit consisted of beige trousers paired with a short-sleeved shirt and loafers. My wife, following the instructions of her new boss, Mr. Kingley, chose an outfit that could be described as a mixture of cosplay and anime character. Emily, my wife, first frowned, then smiled and said, "Nick, this is exactly what he wanted." Before I could say anything, there was suddenly an expressive and loud knock on the door 3 times. "Apparently, it's him. You should probably go and open the door." Emily looked down. "From what I've heard, he doesn't particularly like being kept waiting." I entered the hallway of our apartment and opened the door to come face to face with a massive man, neatly dressed and apparently physically fit. His appearance was impeccable, but one look at his face made it clear how destructive excesses of any kind could be, including the pleasures of food, alcohol, and an overly luxurious lifestyle in general. If I didn't know Bartold Kingley so well, I would definitely be disgusted by his face. In this regard, his expression was just the finishing touch to the picture. I tried to be calm and respectful when I spoke to him. "Oh, you're probably my wife's new boss, Mr. Kingsley? Please come in. Everything is ready as you ordered." He smiled at me silently. Well, I'll survive. The question remained. Would he survive? Emily sat on the sofa in a very short skirt, showing off her plump hips. He had bought the skirt and given it to her earlier that day at their employer's office. Kingley sat down next to her, put his arm around her shoulders with noticeable insistence and familiarity, and said, "Cook, please sit in this chair in front of us." I obeyed and took a seat, trying to give my facial expressions a note of shyness. Everything went well. "This is exactly what should have happened, Cook. I really like your wife. That's why I offered her a job as my new assistant." He laughed at his own joke. "Morning, noon, and night I will have sex with her. And you can't do anything about it, do you understand that?" I nodded. "How will this affect me, Mr. Kingley?" He grinned. "You will not have any intimacy with your wife." I nodded, showing visible sadness. Apparently, I looked so upset that he smirked again. Then he reached out his hand, grabbed Emily by the neck, and leaned down to kiss her. He screamed in pain and punched her hard in the face, jumping to his feet. "Oh, you bitch! What have you done to me?" Quickly and deftly, I grabbed my pistol and aimed it in his direction, standing up. "Idiot! Get away from my wife right now." "What the hell is this? She cut me with a knife!" he exclaimed. "And why are you pointing a gun at me? I will kill you both." "This gun is silent, and it will kill you, but it will do it much more quietly than most other pistols." He walked away from Emily, and I noticed a blood stain on his right side. "Yes, she really stabbed you. This is not the climbing ice axe that was used to kill Trotsky, but an ice knife, so to speak, a modified ice axe from the bartender." He shouted, "I don't give a damn about history. I'll call the police, and you'll both end up in a mental hospital." I shook my head slowly. "No one will call the police because my wife is not Ashley Jones, and she is not a secretary. We are a professional team of killers, husband and wife, and we have received an order to eliminate you." His face turned gray. "But why? What could I ever do to you?" Shrugging my shoulders, I replied, "Not because of what you did to us. We were hired to end your life because of what you did to someone else." While I held him at gunpoint, Emily tied his hands tightly with plastic straps, like police handcuffs. "To whom? And why does someone want me dead?" Emily spoke. "Do you remember your position as a manager at Cranbrook's several years ago? There you also carried out your manipulation with the cuckold. However, the girl you targeted, Liz Foster, felt so guilty for collaborating with your plan to turn her husband Tim into a cuckold that she had a nervous breakdown and was admitted to a mental hospital. As a result, Tim was left alone to look after their 3 children, who were under 5 years old. But I never forced her to do this." "And why does Tim want to kill me?" I intervened. "Tim has nothing to do with this. Liz's father is a man with a vast fortune, and he hired us to take revenge on you for what you did to his daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren. He began to sweet profusely, and the terrible smell of his fear filled the room. I'm rich. I'm ready to pay. I have a family, wife, and children. Please don't do this. This does not concern us. We are obliged to fulfill the order. If we accept your money and leave you alive, then someone will kill us too. Murder Incorporated didn't disappear in the 1940s. She regrouped and is still operating in the United States and abroad for the right price. Besides, Liz and Tim have kids too, but you didn't care about that, right? With Emily's help, we gagged him and quietly carried him down the stairs to our car. We rented a suitable apartment in advance. Although he tried to resist, after hard efforts, we were able to easily place him in the trunk of our car. We arrived at a pre-selected location outside the city, and I opened the trunk. It was in a terrible state, and the smell was far from pleasant. Are you ready to pray before your creator? Hey, I may be a psychopath, but I'm not a monster, you know? He threw something offensive, and I pulled the trigger. After this, there was silence. We closed the trunk again. Emily picked up her phone and sent a text message to the cleanup crew that was supposed to come and clean up the mess after we finished. Each member of the brigade had his own specialized function. We did our job, and they will do theirs. We hid a motorcycle nearby, which we usually use to return home. In this case, it was an apartment intended for our operation. Apparently, the police were interested in the unexplained disappearance of the newly appointed manager. The police asked his work colleagues to describe him. The newly appointed secretary, Ashley Jones, responded to police as follows. I'm not entirely sure. He reminded me of many sales managers I've dealt with over the years, a little arrogant and overly confident. When a more detailed investigation was carried out, it turned out that, despite the short period of work here, he had already come up with several schemes to deceive his new employer. The story about his wife and children in the East, who, according to him, were supposed to join him, turned out to be fictitious. In fact, several years ago, his ex-wife obtained a court order prohibiting him from even having contact with her and the children. We cleaned up the apartment while waiting for the forensic experts to arrive, and 2 months later, Ashley Jones handed in her resignation with 2 weeks' notice because her husband got a new job in Florida. We terminated the apartment rental agreement. Actually, the truth was that we had a new contract in California. It was great because we both loved this state. Besides the good-paying jobs, we enjoyed surfing, hiking, and visiting art galleries and museums. Well, even assassins enjoy many of the pleasant aspects of life.